Tragedy hits America, and the Big 12 Conference responds.
We got back together again today and just felt like it would really be in our best interest to postpone all athletic events through Sunday.
We visit with new Oklahoma State football coach Les Miles.
We need not to turn the ball over on offense, and we'll have a really good football team.
And the Big 12 dominates the college football rankings. We'll have that and more straight ahead on Big 12 Showcase. Welcome to another edition of Big 12 Showcase. Hello everyone, I'm your host Bill Land. Things have changed format-wise for Big 12 Showcase this week. We had planned and in fact originally shot this week's program entirely on the campus of Oklahoma State University, which is the norm around here. But in light of the tragedy and the attack on America in the cities of New York, Washington, D.C., and also Western Pennsylvania, the Big 12 Conference determined on Thursday afternoon there would be no Big 12 football this week. In fact, they've wiped the entire slate clean as far as Big 12 sports activities. Kevin Weiberg, the commissioner of the league, addressed the situation.
Well, we've had a very interesting 48 hours or so here, and you know, I think the overwhelming sentiment of our schools, as we talked about it yesterday, was a real feeling that if there was any way possible, we wanted to proceed with competition. From the very moment that this tragedy occurred, our campuses have made a commitment to staying open, to try to carry on normal activities as much as possible. And to some extent, I think our presidents and chancellors felt very strongly that that needed to carry over to sports events. So yesterday, as we went through this process, we felt like we wanted to give it a try. We wanted to see if it could realistically be done. And as we got into today and we saw the transportation situation was really not improving, I think we also saw that there were really some issues that needed to be thought through carefully from the standpoint of stadiums and security issues and things of that nature. We also heard from some schools that just were feeling like maybe it was too soon to return to competition. And for all those reasons, I think we got back together again today and just felt like it would really be in our best interest to postpone all athletic events through Sunday. And so we've made the decision to do that. I would say, though, that our fundamental feeling that we need to get back to normal activities as soon as reasonably possible remains our overriding hope, and we're going to go into next week with the idea that we're going to be back to full competition. It's going to be a great challenge for us. We're beginning to try to evaluate those issues now. Football games are difficult to reschedule because there are very few open weeks in the balance of the season. And as everyone knows, the Big 12 Conference has a very important and meaningful championship game on December 1st. So it's very difficult for us to think about using December 1st as a playing weekend. We're going to evaluate that, and I think at this point we're going to have all options on the table. We've got our staff right now taking a look at those options. Since these were all non-conference games, it obviously is going to require the cooperation of other schools around the country. And they have schedules that are driven by their conferences, and it's going to be very difficult, I think, to reschedule. But clearly that's our commitment. We want to do that, and we're going to try to work on it in the next several days.
Next up on Big 12 Showcase, we'll visit with Oklahoma State football coach Les Miles, excited about an opening win in his era as the new boss at OSU. And we'll also have a look back at last week's highlights, a great weekend of action in the Big 12 on conference cuts. Stay with us.
We can rush it, we can throw it, we have the bits and pieces. It just has to come together, and we got to eliminate turnovers.
Big 12 Showcase is brought to you by Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big 12 Conference. By Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler, proud to be the official soft drink of the Big 12 Conference and title sponsor of the December 1st Dr. Pepper Big 12 Football Championship game. By Just Balls Sports Solutions, sports equipment and affinity products for competition, gifting and awards and promotions. By Phillips 66. Think smart, think performance, think Phillips 66. By Southwestern Bell, the official telecommunications company of the Big 12 Conference. And by WorldSpan, the official travel distribution and travel technology provider for the Big 12 Conference.
said, you know, Dr. Terry Don, I wish you'd do this for me. Turn to me and say, Les, I would really like you to be our head football coach. and then I'll say, I absolutely will. We'll shake hands and stand up and celebrate.
Welcome back to Big 12 Showcase. I'm your host, Bill Lamb. The Big 12 college football season has gotten off to a roaring start. In fact, last weekend, the Big 12 went 11-1. And now in the national polls, it's Oklahoma number 3, Nebraska number 4, and the University of Texas number 5. Last weekend was a big one at Oklahoma State University. The Cowboys getting their first win for new head coach Les Miles. A thriller, 30-23 over Louisiana Tech. The highlights from that and other games headline a big week of conference cuts. Here's Keith Fletcher.
It was a grand entrance for the league when all 12 teams were in action over the extended weekend. Several teams and players came out of hiding to make phenomenal appearances as the conference was 11-1 last weekend. Oversold and overrated Notre Dame never had a touchdown Jesus prayer against Nebraska as Jamie Burrow led a black-shirt attack that held the Irish to 162 yards. Among Iowa State's 249 rushing yards were 107 from reigning Big 12 rushing leader Ennis Haywood. But the Cyclones nearly had another triple-digit rusher as quarterback Seneca Wallace debuted with 97 yards on only 9 carries with 2 touchdowns. Here's that thrilling ending to Oklahoma State's game. The Pokes and Louisiana Tech were tied at 23 when the Bulldogs tried to punt and an NFL Films blooper classic broke out before Robbie Gillum finally pounced on the game-winning score. Kansas State's winning margin was also provided by a fumble recovery in the end zone as offensive guard Nick Leckie became the unexpected offensive hero. Plenty of offense in a 51-point, 560-yard effort by the Buffaloes up in the Rockies, but even the defense was pulling rabbits out of their hat. Nate Hibble now throws the passes at OU, and he's already putting up Heupel-like numbers with 350 yards through the air as the Sooners amassed well over 520 yards of total offense against North Texas. The Longhorns' Nathan Vasher racked up 153 punt return yards, breaking a school record that had stood for 23 years. But he may not have been the marquee return man of the league last weekend. In Lubbock, after New Mexico came within 21-17 of Texas Tech, Ivory McCann went 8 yards deep into his own end zone, then drew moans from some of the home crowd as he took the ball out. But there was daylight in the West Texas darkness, and McCann could have ran all night. Officially, the return only goes as 100 yards. It's the 210th wire-to-wire kickoff return in college football since 1941. And Baylor's defense was money in the bank last weekend, led by Nathan Cash with his 73-yard interception return for a score. You can take the Southwestern Bell Players of the Week to the bank. K-State's Josh Scobie had a career-high 165 yards on USC. The Huskers' Burrow takes defense, and the Horns' Vasher does take special teams. Keith Fletcher, Big 12 Showcase.
Thanks, Keith. As I mentioned earlier, we had originally shot this program on the campus of Oklahoma State University in wake of the Cowboys' thrilling win over Louisiana Tech. And while in Stillwater on Monday, I had a chance to visit with the new head coach, Les Miles. Glad to have the OSU head coach, Les Miles, here with us, still smiling after the victory over Louisiana Tech. And no matter how much you prepare or think about it, that has to be a great feeling to get the first win, Les.
We're going to celebrate that victory for 48 hours. And see, this is... We're Monday. By the time Tuesday hits, it's over, and we're on Northern Arizona.
It seems this team is really strong. Special teams and defense could use a little help some other places. Is that a correct assessment?
We need not to turn the ball over on offense, and we'll have a really good football team. We can rush it, we can throw it. We have the bits and pieces. It just has to come together, and we got to eliminate turnovers.
The real concern for Cowboys fans is in holding onto the football. In its first 2 games, Oklahoma State has lost 6 fumbles. That's a -4 turnover ratio. Quarterback Aso Pogai has been the main contributor for fumbleitis, but his passing arm has been a reliable source of offense for the Cowboys. In his first 2 games, he's completed 62% of his passes for an average of 280 yards per contest. But the Cowboys are certain that their offensive potential has hardly been tapped, as so many possessions have been forfeited by turnovers. Of the 40 points scored on the Pokes this year, half of those points resulted directly after an OSU turnover.
I guess that's the encouraging thing, though, isn't it? That it seems the problems you've had, because you very well could have won the Southern Miss game, are very fixable.
Well, that's it, but they have to take place, and you only know if they're fixed by playing a game without turnovers.
We talk about poise every day. If we play with poise, we can win a lot of games. And his offense, it just works so great for all of us. And we just have to keep our heads up, and we're going to win a lot of games.
But even with a winded defense having to work overtime, the linebacking core is getting high marks, including Dwayne Levels and Terrence Robinson. Levels led the Cowboys in tackles last season and is their leading tackler through the first 2 games. This past weekend, Robbie Gillum turned in heroics defensively and on special teams.
I think people forgot last year that our defense had a lot of kids that really hadn't played a lot. And those kids that hadn't played a lot last year and were in the fire were really wide-eyed and just happy to be there. And I think this year we have people that are not just happy to be there, they're ready to make plays.
So OSU's offensive woes have mostly been in the turnover category, not so much in offensive production when controlling the ball. Hogai threw for 294 in the season opening loss against Southern Miss. Then last week, tailback Tatum Bell rushed the ball for 109 yards and scored a touchdown. It's not hard to see why the Cowboys are stoked about this season, not only under the new leadership of Miles, but also with the promise of being bowl eligible.
One way this defense can improve is to always give relentless effort on every play. I think there's no substitute for effort on every play.
I know, having been here at Oklahoma State previously, you kind of have a feel for the campus and what's it like. But now that you're the head coach, did a few things differently in your pregame Saturday, and you've been through it once. What is the feeling and the support here of OSU?
Well, we started a tradition with the walk. We're walking from the student union. It's probably, I don't know, a quarter of a mile maybe from the student union to the stadium. We walk right down Hester. And we didn't know what to expect. It was our first opportunity at the walk. And there were between 5,000 and 7,000 people on that street, all just wearing orange and very supportive. And it was really an emotional charge for our football team, and really indebted us to a great game. We had to play well. We had to win. And because the campus and the school, it turned out for us.
Well, congratulations on the win. Good luck Saturday, and the best of luck when Big 12 play gets underway, Les.
Bill, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Les Miles, the new head coach here at Oklahoma State. We'll be back with more Big 12 Showcase, including Big 12 Buzz, in a moment.
Do not leave a helmet on the field unattested. That is my hot button. Don't leave that helmet unattested.
Welcome back to Big 12 Showcase. I'm Bill Land. As we mentioned earlier in the program, this week's show coming to you from the studio in light of the attack on America. But one segment of the program that we shot earlier this week on the campus at Oklahoma State University, we can pretty much air as we shot it. Hope you enjoy it. Let's take a look. Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Land, and glad to have with us once again Keith Fletcher. Is today Keith's going to tell us about a topic that affects all of us.
Excuse me? Oh,
Yeah.
Is this Showcase?
Yeah, Big 12 Showcase.
Wow. I watch you guys all the time.
You do? Well, what's your name?
Avery Cooper.
Hi, Avery. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming by. All right.
Thanks for watching.
Good to see you. Keep watching. Well, kind of funny, that was the topic, pet peeves. And as nice as Avery was, drives me batty, Keith, when people come up and we're trying to actually get a good take, which takes us long enough. But I guess we're not the only ones got pet peeves.
Right. As you look around the league, Big 12 coaches, players, everyone has their list of pet peeves and the things you don't do to a coach to get underneath the skin. And over the summer, we had a chance to catch up with some players and coaches about what not to do with their coach.
There was a time when it was a little bit of a trend for some athletes to chew tobacco, and certainly to see tobacco in the water fountain, that type of thing was something that would rub me wrong.
I'm a real disciplined, detailed person. You know, our players, I don't like our players getting tired, putting their hands on their knees. I don't like to walk on the field. Guys like laying on the ground. I don't like shirts out. There's a lot, you know, that's just a menu of you know, a few things of many things. That, I think all those things are a part of who we are image-wise. I think they're part of our discipline. I think they're part of winning. And So I've been known to have a few of those things.
Don't be late. We have a saying that says, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're forgotten.
Do not leave a helmet on the field unattested. That thing is either on your head or in your hands. If you leave it there, you walk away from it. I've seen ankles broken. I've seen too much of that. That is my hot button. Don't leave that helmet unattested.
I'm just a positive guy, and I'm not going to walk into the room and start looking for things wrong. I want to catch them doing things right. But there are two things that are kind of non-negotiable. Number one, don't be late. And number two is whatever you do it with a great effort.
We don't take our players off campus the night before ball games when we're at home. We don't sleep in hotels when we're at home. So our youngsters stay in their own environment when we're at home. And that's rolling the dice a little bit. If there's something that concerns you all the time, that's certainly it'd be easy to do it the other way, but I know how I feel. I like sleeping in my own bed. I think youngsters do the night before a ball game, and I appreciate our players because they have not taken advantage of that situation.
The student life of going out at nights and getting yourself in trouble and making some decisions that might affect your future adversely before you really understand the deal is really important to us. So we counsel our freshmen a whole lot, and we talk to them more about life than we do football in that first month or two.
The number one thing my guys will tell you, I want a game day atmosphere when it's the hotel, when it's meetings, and when it's game day and it's Saturday. I don't want a coach or a player feeling like they got to entertain somebody else by being a clown or a comedian. There's a time and a place for that. And let's entertain by coaching good and playing good. And we let our young kids know that right away, and I think most of our kids have really followed that close.
Poor effort. Poor effort.
Three things that I do, I guess, have a hard time with. One, you better play hard. Two, you better be smart, play smart. It's something that you've been coached to do, you need to do. And you need to be tough. You need to play physical. And those, if you don't do those three things, then you're going to be talked to, and hopefully that's something our players would say, that those are three factors that I think as a whole staff we try and emphasize.
So as presidential and as stately as coaches have to be in this day and age, they are human and they have pet peeves just like we all do.
Yeah, and we're getting our share of them taken care of here, aren't we?
Pardon me, let me take care of one of my pet peeves. Come on, pal.
Yeah,
You're out
thanks
of here.
for the crowd control, Keith. All right, a lot going on around the Big 12, and the guy to update us is Dave Knobler. Here he is with Big 12 Buzz.
For the fourth time in the 6 years of the Big 12 Conference, Baylor University's student athletes have posted the highest graduation rate among league schools. The NCAA released figures this week that shows that Baylor freshman class of student athletes in 1994 graduated 67% of their class, 9 points higher than the national average. This is the second consecutive year that the Bears have led the Big 12 in graduation rates. And the preseason national rankings have come out in cross country, and for the second time ever, Colorado's men and women simultaneously share #1 ranked status. The two squads did so at the end of last year, heading into the NCAA meet, and this is the first time the teams have held this status in the preseason polls. The women are led by Jody Hughes and Sarah Gorton, with the men led by George Torre and Steve Slattery. And that's what's buzzing around the Big 12. Dave Knobler, Big 12 Showcase.
Thanks, Dave. Stay with us. We'll be right back to wrap things up here on Big 12 Showcase. Welcome back to Big 12 Showcase. Earlier this week, while shooting this program in Stillwater on the campus of Oklahoma State University, we had a chance to catch up with Bullet. Bullet is an 18-year-old quarter horse in his 13th year as the spirit horse for Oklahoma State University athletics. He's being rid by Dan Baumhoff, and Bullet, like any athlete, is looking for some recognition of his own these days.
The M.D. Barnes Silver Spur Award is the humanitarian award, if you will, of the quarter horse world, an award given to a horse who has provided outstanding service in the community. Members of the American Quarter Horse Association can vote for the Silver Spur Award on their website at www.aqha.com.
As always here on Big 12 Showcase, we want to remind you to check out the Big 12's website at big12sports.com, even more so in light of the recent activities and the cancellation of sports events. Check out big12sports.com to find out when things will resume as far as on the fields of the Big 12 Conference athletic play. And for sports news in general, check out FOXSPORTS.com. As we close for another week on Big 12 Showcase, we'd like to extend our thoughts and prayers to the family members and the friends that have so deeply been affected by the tragedy in the attack on America. Next week, Big 12 Showcase hopes to go back to the campus life. That means to Texas A&M, where the Aggies get ready for football, and Oklahoma State University. So long, everybody.
Big 12 Showcase has been brought to you by Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big 12 Conference. By Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler, proud to be the official soft drink of the Big 12 Conference and title sponsor of the December 1st Dr. Pepper Big 12 Football Championship game. By Just Ball Sports Solutions, sports equipment and affinity products for competition, gifting and awards and promotions. By Phillips 66. Think smart, think performance. Think Phillips 66. By Southwestern Bell, the official telecommunications company of the Big 12 Conference. And by WorldSpan, the official travel distribution and travel technology provider for the Big 12 Conference.